Hello and welcome to November's Dillon Dialogue. I'm Kerstin Anderson, Director of Marketing and Communications, and we're here with Mayor Kevin Burns.
Hey, everybody.
And Councilmember Tim Westerberg.
Absolutely. Well, good to be here, and let's get going. I think it'd be good to start with an issue that the community is pretty aware of and I think very interested in, and that we're making a contribution to in Dillon. That's workforce housing. So we've got a couple of projects going on. And perhaps, Mayor, you'd like to fill in some of the details about what's happening.
So we're excited. You know, we've talked a little about some of these projects in the past. It seems like every month we've got, you know, the next step's been taken, so we have a little bit more information. We do have we have two basic projects. That in total, what's the total percentage between the two that brings it up to for workforce housing?
It's 50% for one of them and 25% for the other, but they're different numbers of units.
And that gets us to about 39% of the goal we set as a baseline.
So we can go in that history for a second to talk about the individual projects themselves. We do have what used to be called the Dillon Flats on this program before, we referred to as Dillon Flats. They've recently renamed to Dillon Sail Lofts. And that's a project that's right in our downtown core area. 24 units, 25% of those units are going to be deed restricted in some fashion or another. So for folks who don't know, deed restriction, you know, at the minimum around here entails that you work in the county for 30 hours a week. Additionally, you know, most have some kind of income restriction. For what we're contemplating for these deed restricted units, it's going to be between 90% and 130% of area median income range, and there's a few trigger points to make sure that to try to protect against lag time on the AMI calculations and how the market works. We've had a few cases where the sort of the free market and AMI are going into sort of different directions based on those calculations. We've tried to work through that to protect homeowners. And I think it's you know, it's as I said, if you assume 2 people per unit in those things, we're going to double the size of our town core with this development, which is pretty exciting. So we've got for folks who are about as good at math as I am, that means we have 12 people who live in our town core right now. Hopefully we're
right. And when we talk about the core, we're basically talking about down from Highway 6, Lake Dillon Drive, and then to Lodgepole. That downtown area that we've spent so much time trying to revitalize. And when you think of that many more people going to the bowling alley or going to our restaurants, it can really sort of feel more vital than it
and hopefully stimulate some additional retail business down the road. And when is that project? That project is slated to begin in 2018, the construction of that project?
So that's been one of the final details, is when winter shelves actually get in the ground, and we're looking at a spring 2018 start time for that construction for the first phase, and then the second phase of that project, which it splits the units 50-50, would start that fall. And still, you know, I think we're expecting units to come online next year, which will be incredibly exciting. I think one of the things that I'm not sure that we've really talked about in this program in the past is this. We'll get to the other development in a moment, but one of the things I do want to make sure to note for this Dillon Sail Lofts project, as it's now called, where the part of the whole package of developing this includes getting resources to kickstart the redevelopment of our town park according to that town park master plan. So that's kind of an exciting piece. It's, you know, putting this project together as both injecting workforce housing into the community and then also getting the ball rolling on a pretty popular town park master plan development process. So it's pretty cool when you can get a project that hits on a few areas of sort of community need at the same time, which this one certainly does.
And the Dillon Sail Lofts, 2 different buildings,
correct,
are for sale.
Yes.
the sail lofts,
Yeah, that's
unlike the Dillon Ridge project. And why don't you talk about that a little bit too?
Right.
Yeah, so the Dillon Ridge project, that's going to actually be 50% deed restricted rentals, and so that's contemplated as entirely a rental project. That is even the unrestricted stuff is going to have to be at least a 6-month rental,
right.
which will hopefully keep some people, keep some more people in town. It'll hopefully be a really great option for folks looking for workforce housing. Those, that'll be a nice combination of hopefully those folks who want to be here for more than just the 3 or 4, the true 3 or 4 month seasonal, want to actually try to be here for a full, or just moving to the county to start what hopefully is some full time here. And then with the deed restriction, it's hopefully going to be kind of targeted for those folks who are maybe not quite ready to buy a home, but if we don't want to be kind of established up here. And definitely it's a type of inventory that we really don't have much of in the town of Dillon. So it's going to be kind of it's probably one of the first opportunities for kind of those younger full-time professionals to really have access to come in and live in the town of Dillon, which is really cool.
Yeah, and when we did, I always like to remind people that we did a workforce housing retreat, and we worked with Summit County Housing Authority, and that's how we took case studies of other projects around and really learned, hey, what worked and what were maybe some of the issues, so that when we're looking at our covenant to protect these properties, that we're not falling into the same pitfall. So we'll probably have completely new ones that people can learn from, because we know it's not a perfect science yet, but we're really excited to get these projects off the ground. And in our research with them, when we looked at the housing assessment, it broke down into sort of percentage of ownership need versus rental need. And we actually saw that the need for rentals is about 56% compared to a 44% ownership need when you look at that total housing assessment. So
having a slightly bigger rental project makes a lot of sense for us. It's it fits in very well with that with that needs assessment, with some certainly a lot of what I've been hearing just one-on-one on the streets about what people are looking for. That rental demand has spiked.
Right.
And I think that where the deed restrictions are landing is at 100% AMI, which is it's right where it's kind of that young professional target that's maybe not quite ready to buy a home that's going to be probably a new demographic for the community.
And again, with the Dillon Ridge Vista project, for the workforce housing units, which is 50% of that project, it's the same rules apply, 30 hours working, 30 hours or more working in the county, yes?
Yep, correct.
Yep, and we're also looking to have preference towards people who work within the community of Dillon. So when you think about our restaurants that are struggling to hire people because they can't find housing, this is a great tool that supports vitality and residents and our business community as well.
Yeah.
And I hear that all the time from businesses who are scaling back or not able to expand because they can't find people to work because those workers or would-be workers can't find a place to live. Right. And you referenced earlier, Kerstin, our council retreat where we set some goals. Did you say 39, this accomplishes
39%, I think.
39% of what we set
and we
as
said,
a goal for housing.
And we set a baseline of about, you guys set a baseline of 139 units. And basically how you first looked at the infrastructure and said, all right, how many EQRs do we have? What can our water and sewer support as a limiting?
That's what you were asking, Tim.
Yes. Well, and we would notice the precision of our work, 139, not 140.
Right.
Not 130, but 139.
Truly.
We did work on it.
We did. And then we looked at our percentage of the 5A housing money. And then, of course, we bumped that against the housing assessment and the needs in our immediate Snake River Valley basin. Yes. And that's how we achieved that very specific number, yes.
So,
Mayor, you mentioned some resources for the town park, and we've just very recently, well, actually over the last few months, been working on our capital improvement budget and our 10-year plan?
10-year plan.
10-year plan. And we've prioritize the town park as one of the things we want to have happen in the next few years. That's going to be very exciting
and I think that's
badly needed.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. One of the first things we're going to do is look at taking sort of dedicated parking, and that in turn will free up, will be utilized on farmers market days. So it'll go into this cool festival plaza that I think will have a nice impact on the feel of the farmers market. And then that frees up parking for our businesses within the core area on Fridays when it gets pretty busy. Then we'll be looking at doing some grade work, because that slopes pretty aggressively in that park currently, expanding the field that's currently a undersized baseball field and making that a multi-use. So, our Parks and Rec committee reached out and talked to different sports groups within the community to see what additional uses we could get there. And then, of course, sort of upgrading the playground facilities in that area. And then also having a really cool kind of natural walkway, walking area, improving the rec path there, and then of course supporting our tennis and pickleball communities.
All the great stuff that we do in the town park. For folks who might not be familiar with that, you can go to our website and see the town park master plan, which was developed a couple of years ago now, and that contemplates most of that stuff that we've been talking about. I'm sure that as we, like all plans, there'll be some minor tweaks for just as you figure out what can actually be done with what money, but that gives us a pretty good guide in terms of what you're going to be seeing in the town park over the next few years. One piece which I actually this might even be new to you, Tim, but one thing that I just heard about is that we've gotten some great money to do a community garden in the town park. Is that correct? Is that this is actually as I said, this is a pretty recent development. So is that something you can explain a little bit further?
No.
Yeah, well, I can talk to it a little bit. We'll be kicking that off in the spring, and it's part of the Healthy Heal initiative, and so that's where I'm not quite remembering what that stands for.
We'll have a full update at a future one of these, no doubt.
Right, and so basically it's communities working together to provide healthy alternatives for their residents. So whether that's from looking at our rec paths and modes of transportation and encouraging people to bike or walk, and having those resources available, to things like community gardens that help us make healthier decisions with our diet.
And the way my understanding is the way that we're looking at the community garden is actually going to be incorporated into one of the entrances for the town park. So it'll become part of the one of the town park entrance, kind of across, I think, from Jersey Boys right now. And so that'll, as we're doing some of the, we've as you mentioned, Tim, in our capital, we've put in a couple $1 million for to kind of do some of these larger scale projects that are contemplated in the town park. But as we're also doing some of the initial work around that kind of parking and festival creation and kind of that side of the that entrance area of the park, we're also going to be doing we'll be doing this other piece of work on another side of the park and activating something that's I run through there. I'd say it's kind of an underutilized section of the park right now. Right. So we're going to be doing so we're probably going to be doing 3 fairly distinct projects in the town park, all kicking off next spring and going on for the next 5 or so years, really, which will be pretty exciting.
And so that people don't think this is all in place next summer, the community gardens or whatever term, that's going to be kicked off this next spring.
That's slated for this next spring.
And then the overall park plan, as you said, is 4 or 5 years in the development.
Yeah, but it allows us to use most of the park, so not everything's torn up at the same time. We can budget it better, and then also allows us to, as mentioned, the community gardens are we're going to be partially funded with grants. Some of the planning work's been funded with grants. We're hoping that this is something that we can continue leveraging some of our own tax dollars to get more grant opportunities as we parcel things out down the road, which is the smart way to do parks projects. So.
Sticking with the construction theme, I was by the amphitheater today, and they have the big crane down there, and they're putting the steel up for the top of the stage area, the covering of the stage, and probably other things. But Pretty cool.
You know, I was driving by there this morning and saw that, and what I thought was my predecessor, Ron Holland, always used to say he thought his job would be that when you can get a crane in downtown Dillon,
You know something's happening.
Yeah, you'll know something's happening. So we're only about 7 years later than he was anticipating, but we got there.
Well, we have external structures. I mean, there's obviously a lot of work to be done before July of 2018, but it's coming into place. It's pretty cool.
It's really exciting. So the work that's being done down there, the old stage was demolished and the new stage is pushed back closer to the rec path, and that improves the line of sight through the entire facility. And it's sloped a little bit, so you'll never be really looking at the back of somebody's head.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, while you're at a concert. And
I'll be whacking on the back of the head anymore, Tim.
With the program, right?
We obviously are getting, we removed sort of the shed that was behind that facility, the portalets that are behind the facility, and that has become a honest to goodness green room and better loading and unloading capabilities. We have family bathrooms that are down at that lower level that can be tied into the rec path as well, that we're really excited about. The dance floor became a little bit larger, which is something the community loves about that facility, and really wanted to make sure that we
for me. Yeah, the dancing. Yeah.
Of course, we have
Highlight for me to watch you dance, actually.
Of course, we're quadrupling the bathrooms up at that top
Going
festival
from 1 to
level.
4?
From 4 to 20.
Yeah.
You're right.
Twice that thing is still.
So it's going to be really exciting. And we've also, our events manager, Matt Miano, and myself have had some really interesting conversations with different groups around Colorado, and having a facility that is capable of hosting really quality, larger groups has really opened some doors. So we're excited to make some exciting programming happen.
No announcements right now?
No.
And just under control, we have every intention of continuing the free concerts. We may add some paid events, or we might not, but a couple of people in the community have said, well, is this all about ending the free concerts? And that's not what it's about at all.
Not at all. Free music is such a key part of our identity.
Our culture, our identity,
A lot of it does have to do with our liquor license and alcohol control, so I'm going to plug that right now. We will see fewer entry points, and certainly we'll be looking at probably checking coolers next year. We have a liquor license there. The town controls that. The proceeds from the liquor sales actually help partially fund the free music. So if you want free music in Dillon, the thing to do is buy beer. Leave your cooler at home, buy beer.
So for anyone who enjoys the more controlled family-friendly environment that with some of this, we're certainly happy to help accommodate that. For anyone who's put out by not being able to bring in their unrestricted cooler anymore, I would recommend talking to Mayor Pro Tem Mark Nickel. It was all his idea.
Exactly.
Find all the contact information on the website.
We've also got some development going on with a new ski shop and Christie's Sports and a couple of other things. So we may even see yet another crane in our lifetime in Dillon. Christie's is going to really just tear that building down and start over, aren't they?
Yep, so they're looking to build a signature store location with just a really beautiful building right at the gateway to Dillon there. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, that was, I appreciate Tim's use of the Socratic method here, although he's, I don't want the viewer to think that he hasn't been we voted on this. He's not actually, he knows what we're doing.
Or that I attended any of the meetings where this was discussed.
Right. We got an incredible presentation from Christie Sports about what kind of their vision for what they want to use that space for, and it is. It's I know I kind of came away from that really excited to see them redeveloping that spot. It's going to be it's going to be workforce housing projects we discussed earlier, and this Christie Sports Building are some of the first ones that have utilized our new design guidelines, and this is really the first kind of commercial building to do so, and I think that the results are really astonishing. They did a great job following that and keeping the the mountain lake style aesthetic that we've been talking about, and I can't wait to see. To see the progress and to see that kind of spot redeveloped, and then literally down kind of across the street from them, Sun and Ski just opened up in
early November.
And that's it's kind of cool to. I think it works sort of similar to when you see grocery stores open up next to each other. We seem to have sort of become a hub of sports gear, which is really exciting. It's fun. There's each one serves a little different needs. So there's so folks can come in and find what they're looking for, and just right in the heart of it.
REI having recently opened, it's, as you say, we've got some of the best sports equipment opportunities anywhere.
Since outdoor rec is so key to who we are in Dillon and what we have access to, it's nice to see that supported in the business community.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And the Sun and Ski opening up, I think, fills one of the last kind of vacant, larger vacancies that we had in the store, or in the town area, and that's really exciting. It's become a pretty vibrant sort of commercial area again along that highway.
Right.
It's been fun recently. Some of the people who have lived in the county much longer than I have been talking about the history of that Christie Sports building. I guess there was a quite popular Italian restaurant in there at one time. You probably don't remember that. You're just barely old enough to go into such places now, but I'm told that there was some fun, different places in that, businesses in that building.
Yeah.
I know, Kerstin, you wanted to remind the viewers of the upcoming election in April, and maybe, Mayor, you want to talk a little bit about the election that we just had, kind of fill in both pieces.
Yeah, so I'll start with looking backwards here for a moment. We did had an election in November. There was some besides some countywide stuff that was on the ballot. Dillon did have 2 ballot questions. One was an authorization to use some workforce housing money to potentially bond out against, which narrowly did not pass. I think some of the Tim, I don't know if you've talked to anyone else about it, but certainly some of the feedback that I heard was that there's, besides people wondering what the question actually asked, which is occasionally I've heard some of that. I certainly appreciate that there's I think historically when you ask for bonding questions, there's a specific list of like a project or a specific list of projects, and we were asking for kind of broader authority, which is kind of unusual in the Colorado voting world, and I've heard some people kind of question, one, not necessarily not supporting a project that might come up, or if I had a conversation with them about what I thought was going to come up, that they, not a concern about that, but just saying, let's get this on paper and have a discussion about what we're going to authorize, which I thought was some very fair comments and feedback. Happily, we did pass the Comcast or the broadband opt-in question, which is to basically allow us to opt in to potentially providing our own municipal broadband services. So
or in conjunction with some of our neighbors.
Others, and it's that one essentially besides potentially allowing us to provide our own services or work together with neighbors, it also allows us to negotiate with our broadband providers currently, which is a nice tool to have. I think we, it is interesting. I think that one, when we put it on the ballot, it had been a question that had been undefeated in all the communities have been put on, and we continued that streak. But I believe that I think it was Fort Collins actually voted it down in November. They had a huge opposition mounted by broadband companies, and so we managed to get it through, but I believe it's no longer an undefeated question. So.
Wow. I'm glad that Dubious honor doesn't fall on us.
Yes, exactly.
The Northwest Council of Governments are working hard to sort of address this issue and come up with solutions to help our communities, which are considered rural. And so I'm pleased that we'll be able to take advantage of those opportunities as they come about.
Absolutely.
And with regard to the April, excuse me, got a little bit of a tear in my eye, elections, one of us
Term limited.
will not, this could perhaps be the last community chat for one of us.
Actually, that's not true, because with 6 people up for re-election,
It could be-
there's only going to be two people that are, or 6 seats up. You are term limited, and there's only one other sitting council member who isn't up for election. So I think that fair
Could be
practices
last
act
community chat
requires
for lots of people.
Yeah, it's just going to be you and Brad, I think, for 3 months.
So we have, how many positions open again? And Mayor, your
I am up.
position is
Yep.
up for re-election.
So is it 6 out of the 7?
Yeah, we.
I think that's right.
So let's remind viewers, we've talked about this, but it's been a year or two now. We've had a string of vacancies and appointments as people, given the lack of housing and the small size of our town, we've had some people moving out of town because they want to expand their families. We've had people moving out of town because they have to get closer to their jobs.
Some people run out of town.
Some people
a
get
variety.
Some people run or get run out of town for a variety of reasons. It's all
I'm actually kidding about that last
yeah,
part.
that's right. So just kind of over the course of since the last election, we've had to appoint 5 seats, and then your term limited, or at 4 seats, your term limited. Brad Bailey is going to be the only person not up for election,
Right.
and then a couple of us are just up. So that's yeah.
Yes.
So I'd say yeah. So that's.
Right.
That's the way it goes.
Right. So if you were interested in running for council, and it's how much joy do you get from?
Well, we get to be on television.
How often do you show up?
Tim comes quite a bit to the chat. So
That's right.
Been a few times. And I've forgotten, do we have any other, besides the election, the council and mayor, do we have any other?
Yep, so we're looking for a planning and zoning committee member. And that it needs to be someone who is from within the community of Dillon, and they meet the first Wednesday of every month. And basically what they do is they get projects before them, and they compare those to the code and the town's comprehensive plan or long-term vision, and basically make recommendations to approve or deny.
And that's a council appointment. That's not in the election in April.
That's
but
right.
We do have that open.
So we're looking in the next couple of weeks to get someone into that position. And so if you're interested, apply at Town Hall. We'll get you a meeting with the council members, and we'd love to speak to you about the opportunity.
You mentioned the comprehensive plan. We've got some community input coming up and some help with capstone project students and all of that. Who knows more about that than me, which would be either
Almost
of you
anyone.
and both of you. Yeah, right.
Well, I think Kerstin probably has the latest developments on the capstone plan, so I'll certainly let you take that away. But I think it's, we were approached by a member of the community who's involved with these projects and said he thought that Dillon would be a perfect opportunity to engage in one of these for some great planning work of almost any variety. And I know that Kerstin, you and our Tom Aker, our town manager, kind of took the ball and ran with it to try to put together a project. And I'll let you take away on exactly what that was, but it's very exciting to see.
Sure, it's really very fun. So it's the School of CU Denver, Architecture and Design and Planning. And so basically you can apply to have master students create a project for you. And so we threw out a huge body of work. We basically said, hey, let's take a look at our comprehensive plan. We want a visual framework to help people understand envision what that could look like.
What could development actually look like if people are
And not just for the town core, but the whole town, or is it just primarily the town core.
It's pretty broad. We asked them to look at the town core. We asked them to look at connections, areas that we could strengthen connections all the way across the entire town. So out towards the cemetery and the nature preserve, through the Marina Park, up the core area to Highway 6, across the street to Dillon Ridge Marketplace, and down to down by Christie Sports and Dan Brewery, where we were talking about. And then, so strengthening those connections, looking at, we're looking for a 3D model of that core area. As part of an outcome of this project, which I think is really going to help us as we grapple with sort of heights in a split community on what the appropriate height is for that core area. And I think that can really help make us either say, wow, this doesn't really change the character of the town, or, oh, hey, yeah, we do want to take another look at that. And it's going to really help people understand that better. We're looking at, we know that views are very important in our community, and so we're looking at those view corridors that exist and how does architecture fit within development to make sure that we're highlighting that thing that makes us really special and maintaining that. So that was one of the projects, and we actually had a student apply for that, and so they're going to be kicking off that scope of work in January. Then the school reached out to us, and they actually want to do a summer studio in Dillon. And these are things that typically happen abroad, but there's a lot of interest in our mountain region. And so that's a multi-week course, and up to 16 students could come up here. So that's the brain power of 16 students plus the dean and professors looking at.
So I want to hang out in Dillon this summer.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah, shocking.
Shocking.
Yeah, not a bad gig.
Right.
And so they'll be looking at other aspects of what we submitted, and that's sort of version 2.0 of our comp plan and development. It's actually looking at workforce housing and doing some analysis on different parcels of land to say, all right, what's the best parcel of land and what would be the right mix, and just looking at those types of issues for us. Part of that will be community meetings.
I was going to say, there's built into this concept is opportunities for the community to respond to what they come up with.
Absolutely, to actually first contribute and guide, and then come back and provide feedback.
Right.
And then, along with that, the town, we're looking to supplement some of those efforts. And the last time we've done a community survey was in 2006. So we'll be looking at launching a community survey in the next year here.
Great.
So there's a lot going on, yeah.
And we've got the, sales tax revenues are good. That's always fun to mention. I think up 2.6% year to date, which translates into real dollars and cents, like just 100,000+.
Just do some of these projects we've been talking about, or some projects we haven't even had a chance to talk about.
We've got, like Kevin, go through it. You're right next door to it at work, the ice castle.
Yes.
I mean, what a project. They've been working on that.
It's going to be really cool.
It's going to be very cool. And that's in Town Park.
It's, when they first put the fences up and started working on it, it took me a second to figure out what they were doing. Even though we sat on council and approved the plan and everything, I was like, how, it's still warm out. What's going on? But they're coming. They were doing a lot of work. It's going to be a really exciting project.
Project.
They are hoping to hopefully we're going to get some snow and some colder temperatures starting tonight. So they're hoping to start creating ice this week. They're looking to be open mid-December. So really based on temperatures, they need about 2 weeks to do what they want to do. They walked me through, so right now it's kind of hard to envision, but Dan was walking me through and he said, all right, here's where our maze is going to be, and here's where our fountain and cathedral room are going to be, and here's where the slides are going to be. And so it's just going to be really cool. We posted some pictures of other ice castles in other areas on Facebook, and that response was tremendous. So I just can't wait to see it.
I've never seen the structural underpinnings of it like I'm witnessing daily now. It's really a much bigger effort than I had ever imagined.
I think it's going to be a ton of fun, and it's, we've talked for certainly as long as I've been on council about how do we, what can we activate in the winter in Dillon, which, we're such a sort of a, slightly uniquely for Summit County, we're so summer oriented that, how do we, how do we fit into kind of the winter scene? And I think that this makes a lot of sense, and it's a great way to activate our town park in the winter. It's it can act as a great sort of central hub for our town core area in the winter, and it's going to be a blast for kids and families.
So they'll have ticket pricing on that shortly. And the other thing that we're bringing back, so last year we did snow play, and that was just snow sculptures that kids and families could interact with, and that's generally in January. So that'll be a free opportunity, and we're looking to bring that back, and it'll be over in the basketball court area across from Town Park. And last year when we created that, I just had a lot of people enjoying that and having fun. And the Travel Channel came out and filmed a segment. It was part of, they looked at the Breckenridge ice sculpture competition, and they looked at what we were doing. And then there's like a guy in Minnesota who they featured who, started doing these things in his backyard. And then another kind of like graffiti snow sculpture guy in Canada who goes around, and if it snows, he'll build one of these things overnight in a parking lot. So we're all featured, and that segment is going to run on the Channel Travel in December here, really close to Christmas.
And lighting of Dillon, December 7th?
So
is that right?
Very exciting. Yeah.
December 7th?
Yep,
Pearl
December
Harbor
7th.
Day?
Is that Pearl Harbor Day?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So yes.
That's just a coincidence, I think.
It's always the first Thursday of the month. Right. And so 5:30 to 7:30, it's the Dillon Community Church. Come out, Pug Ryan's offers free hot dogs. The community church bakes cookies. There's hot dogs. There's pictures with Santa and Mr. Claus.
Holiday season doesn't start without those hot dogs.
That's right.
It's a perfect fit. So the Summit Middle School Choir is there, which is really nice. And this year, the first 500 people who come will get their very own Dillon ornament.
And reindeer hot dogs, correct?
Not this year.
Not this year. That was a few years ago.
Reindeer hats. Alpine Bank is another one of our sponsors, and they bring reindeer hats. So
it's a blast. Yeah. I've loved it every year that we've been able to do it. So.
Have we left anything out that people might be interested before we wrap this up?
Yeah, just the last thing that I want to talk about is getting access to council agendas and emails. And so you can go on townofdillon.com, and at the bottom it says contact us. So you can click on that and fill your information in, and then you will get the bi-weekly council packets. So you can review the agenda, come to a meeting if you see something that's interesting. We do have...
Avoid one if it looks too horrendously boring. That's
we do have, we've been getting in some different development applications. Some people who have submitted applications in the past are resubmitting. And so that's a great opportunity for people to come in and keep up to date with what's going on with those projects, or just read through the notes and understand the projects that are being proposed. And then also, we had the Tenderfoot 2 fire, and that email list was something that we were able to utilize to send out information to our residents. And so please, if you get the chance, sign up. We'd love to send communication to you and make sure that people know what's going on.
Very good. And this site behind us is hopefully what we'll see tomorrow.
All right.
We can hope.
With mid-November predicted snowstorm rolling
We always see
in.
it soon, one way or the other. It always comes. I suspect you're right. Tomorrow will be the day.
Yep.
And we should, I wish you both a happy holidays.
Yeah.
Happy holidays, everyone.
The next month is filled with lots of good stuff.
Yeah.
Indeed. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving.